Hi there, it is Wednesday. Welcome to Q&A Wednesday. Hey, I'm sorry I'm about 60 seconds late, but we just arrived at our hotel in Seattle. So pretty exciting things happening today. Not only is it my son Brendan's 19th birthday, but I'm also hauling his hiney off to college. So pretty exciting day today. Tomorrow morning we'll actually take him over to the UW campus and he'll get to move in, and pretty exciting. It's a little weird that apparently apparently I'm an adult and I have adult children. It's a little disconcerting, but it's okay. You know what? I'm excited. I'm glad he is getting to go do what he wants to do. Pretty exciting events happening in our lives at this point. So excited to be back. Hopefully we are at a normal schedule at this point. The last couple of weeks have been a little crazy. Just last Wednesday, I could not get back from Cancun in time to do a Q&A Wednesday. It was a really long day of flights and a little craziness. And for all of you who might have been worried, had lots of questions, we were not affected by the hurricane whatsoever. I know Hurricane Irma was doing some major damage in Florida. My heart goes out to all those who are really struggling and dealing with that. Met some great couples and some people who couldn't even get home. Darn, they were stuck in Cancun. So you know, and it happens. But anyway, thanks for tuning in tonight. I have a really great topic that I want to talk about. You know, and for some people, this might be kind of a weird topic. You know, a lot of the clients that I work with struggle to even lose weight or try to get lean or burn fat. And so this might be something that they kind of feel like is elusive. We're talking a little bit about, you know, how lean should you get? What's the plan there? What's the goal there? What's healthy? We're going to talk a little bit about that. Thank you, CJ. I'm getting some great words from people, and I appreciate that. But you know, it is important when it comes to how lean you are, and I do like to talk about things in leanness. You know, I'm not a big fan of losing weight because I believe that way too many things play into that role, and if you get too attached to what the scale has to say, you might actually be banking on the wrong information, because you don't know how much of that weight is now muscle, because muscle weighs more than fat, and of course takes way much less space than fat does. But also, you know, especially as women, we can vary up and down quite a bit depending on where you are in your cycle. How many carbs did you have yesterday? How much water did you drink? Because carbs absorb more water. You know, the scale really doesn't give you enough information. So I actually like to approach it as, you know, burning fat. However, that being said, I want to talk to you a little bit about how lean might be appropriate for you. You know, of course, for me as a former competitor, I would cycle up and down depending on where I was in my season. And so some of that was, you know, when you're bulking or building, trying to do a grow season, very difficult to grow without putting on some weight and maybe even a little bit of fat, because it requires more carbs. It requires a surplus of calories in order to grow. And so we do put a little bit of fat back on. And then leaning out for a show, of course, we get extremely lean. You know, for women's physique, you're talking, you know, as a woman, 6% on stage, that is extremely lean. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. But first of all, I want to talk a little bit about what fat is. If you look back through history, I mean, it's a necessary thing, right? Fat is something that is purposeful in your body. You know, it's designed to protect your organs. It's designed to provide energy sources. If you think about, you know, our ancestors way back when, they didn't have the convenience of the food and the energy coming in that we have today. I mean, today you just drive through the drive-through and boom, you have an energy source. Not that that's the best, healthiest option, but that is something that, you know, 100 years or so ago, they just didn't have those options. And so there were times where they would feast and times that they would famine. And when they would feast, they would put a little bit of fat on. So then the times that food was not readily available, when they couldn't eat as much, obviously their body had to turn to their fat as a fuel source. Look forward to this day and age, it's not quite the same situation. Unfortunately, because food and fuel is so readily available and so convenient, many of us, especially as Americans, tend to eat way more abundantly than we truly need to. And so what your body does with the excess, of course, is stored as fat for future use. But because we don't really need it, at least not at this day and age, our body just stores it. And then, of course, we have an unhealthy amount of fat attached to our body. So, you know, there's actually two types of fat. There's the essential fats that are stored in small amounts around your body, such as in your bone marrow, believe it or not, in your organs, in your nervous system, and those are designed to help run those basic functions, are actually needed by those organs and utilized in those systems. Then we actually have storage fat, which is predominantly what you see, whether it is subcutaneous, which is right under the skin, or whether it is visceral or brown fat, which is stored around the primarily around the midsection. And of course, that is the dangerous fat. That is the unhealthy fat that can cause a lot of health issues such as type 2 diabetes, heart disease. It also can start crowding out the organs, and it actually it hardens. And it's kind of just a scary, dangerous situation to be in. So I know most of us, especially as women, we're trying to get rid of some of that fat. However, a certain amount of fat is necessary on our bodies. Now, you'll notice that it's different depending on the gender. Men tend to carry less fat than women, at least in general. I know that obviously there's lots and lots of variations there, but for women, we tend to carry more fat because we need it for breast tissue. We tend to carry some in our hips and thighs. It obviously is in preparation for carrying a child, for carrying a baby in your system. So in general, we tend to carry more fat than men, right? So that's part of it. That's why even when you talk about the percentages that are appropriate for men versus women, it varies just a little bit, because you have what we consider essential fats, which for men, I believe, is around 2 to 4%, and for women is closer to, I believe, 6 to 8%. I don't have my stats in front of me, unfortunately. But depending on who you are, the research or the expert that you're following, the appropriate amount of fat can actually vary quite a bit. I've actually seen healthy fat for women as being anywhere from 13 to 33%. Now, yeah, I'm not a fan of that 33%. I think in some instances and some researchers, they believe that is in the obese category. I believe that it just gets to a point where your body just doesn't need the abundance of fat that our body can store. That's something, again, that varies from person to person, but, really for a woman, again, it depends on what your goals are. It depends on, it also depends on your genetics. Some of us carry fat in different places, and some of us tend to carry more than others, such as if you've heard of the differences between endomorphic, ectomorphic, and mesomorphic. It just depends on your body type as to how much fat that you tend to carry as well. So keep that in mind. Now, when it comes to how lean should you get, okay, here's my thought process. Number one, it really depends on your goals. For some of us, we want to stay a little bit leaner. I'd like to be able to move more, be a little bit stronger, let my muscles show through. For others, that might not be appropriate for them. If you're prepared to carry a baby, that's going to be a whole different ball game as to the amount of body fat that you take on. So realize that that's going to play a huge role as to where you are, leanness, and of course how much muscle is on your frame. The biggest one that I want to talk about is the balance of sacrifice versus happiness. Because what happens is most of us get to a certain point and we're super happy, but we're going, well, but wait a minute, what if I want to be ripped? Of course, my favorite is the clients that come up to me 3 weeks after we've started working together, and they're going, Melissa, it's been 3 weeks. How come I'm not ripped? And I'm just thinking, okay, wow, we got to have a real reality check here. At some point, you are going to have to make a decision where that balance lies of, am I willing to sacrifice more to get where I want to go when it comes to leanness? So if you look at a bodybuilding competitor, temporarily, they are willing to forego all those fun things that they love. And of course, we usually hear about it all over Facebook, right? Oh my God, I want Oreos. I want this. After my show, I'm going to eat that. So, of course, they're doing it, but they're doing it temporarily. Now, of course, that can have unhealthy issues towards the end when they go out and binge for several weeks when they're done. Not the best idea. But you see what I'm saying? Temporarily, they're willing to forego some of those things that they love. That's the sacrifice. I, of course, believe in sustainability, and that whatever you do, you should honestly be able to do long term. Maybe with the exception of competitions and things like that, but let's look at the overall picture. If you're someone who's done great, you've dropped some pant sizes, and you're super happy, and your energy level's up, and you feel good, and your self-confidence is there, you kind of have to get to that position where, do I really want to have to maybe cut out any alcohol? Maybe you like a glass of wine once in a while. You have to cut out, maybe, at Christmas time, you love to bake goodies with the kids. To stay super lean, you're probably going to have to leave out the sugars. So again, Are you willing to do that? Or are you fairly happy with, once in a while having a free meal with your family? Again, it becomes a balance of what are you willing to do to get where you want to go, right? And of course, over time that might change. Now that I'm not competing, I'm okay being adding a little bit of fat back to my body. I cannot maintain, as a woman, we cannot maintain a fairly low body fat percentage without our body fighting back. How low is too low? Again, that's going to be a little bit of perspective here. Honestly, for a woman, if you have stopped having a regular period, you are probably too low of body fat. Your body has basically said you're to the point where your body cannot sustain a pregnancy. And of course, older women, that's going to play a different role just because of menopause and some other issues. However, that is your body's ability to give you some feedback. Hey, it's just not going to happen. I would also say look at your energy level. Do you have energy? Are you lethargic on a daily basis? Do you struggle to get out of bed? Do you struggle to do your daily work, your daily habits, the things that you normally do? If you are too tired to do any of those activities, you may be A, not getting enough food, and B, your body fat might be just too low to be healthy. There is such thing as being too low body fat. In this day and age, I've said this before, your body does not know the difference between a diet and starvation. It will assume you are starving. And your body has two goals for you, actually. And the first one is to survive. That's its very first goal. And the second is to avoid pain. So it will do whatever it needs to in order to help preserve you. So for some women, you might get to the point where you cannot drop any more body fat. Your body will fight you on it. And it is because that your body just knows that that's not healthy, and it won't survive in that mode. So keep that in mind. So how lean should you get? We talked about goals. We talked about the balance of sacrifice versus happiness. Is it sustainable? Is this something that you want to maintain for the rest of your life? Do you want to be a fitness model and have abs every day of your life? First of all, for a lot of people, genetically, that's just not option. You're going to struggle to keep that. For others, genetically, they might have amazing genes and their six pack shows up as soon as they dump sugar from their diet. I don't know. But I believe in long term, and what you are doing now, you should at least be able to maintain for the rest of your life. So again, there's a balance there. Also, can you maintain your shape or your muscle tone? In staying lean, part of it is, consistently eating at maintenance level or deficit of calories. And again, quality of calories matters. But at some point, you may burn off muscle as fuel. So if that becomes a problem, you may not be able to stay as lean as you want to. Again, it comes with a balance, and you might need some outside guidance in order to maintain the best options for you. So don't be afraid to check in with a nutritionist, a coach, somebody who honestly knows what they're talking about. Don't just look stuff up on the internet and follow somebody's meal plan, because that isn't always designed for you and it's not always healthy. So a couple of things. When it comes to being lean, there's going to be some obstacles, okay? We just talked about a few of them that your body might fight you, and possibly genetics. If your family tends to hold body fat in certain places and you really struggle to burn it off, that might be part of the process that you're gonna have to work with. That's life, right? Of course, I want you to be healthy. That's my first and foremost goal for you, is to be healthy. It's not how lean can you really get. It's let's be healthy and then maybe push it and see how far we can go. Also, hormones may play a role. The older we get, of course, our hormones completely change. It's a little bit different. Women who are like me, hitting their 40s, you may not have the testosterone in your system anymore in order to get as lean as you need to be. So that might be something that you need to check with your doctor about. And I'm not kidding. I'm not talking estrogen. Yes, that's an issue as we hit into our late 40s and into our 50s, when we hit menopause. But actually, the loss of testosterone is something that's very real, that happens to women anywhere from 35 to 45. That's kind of something we pay attention to. And that's, of course, a topic for another day. But that might be an obstacle that keeps you from getting where you want to go. So Mike is again asking my thoughts on keto diet and staying lean. So here's the thing on a keto diet. If you are, and again, this is something we could totally talk about another day, but if you are on a ketosis diet, first of all, you gotta know what you're doing, okay? Because you still have to get the right amount of calories. You still have to be eating the right amount of fats in order for your body to function. It is true that carbs are the one nutrient that your body can totally do without, because it can make glucose on its own through the other nutrients that you eat. The hardest part about ketosis is, number one, you know, if you go out of ketosis, let's say that you really want to cheat and you want to eat a piece of cake because it's your best friend's birthday. As soon as you enter those carbs and that sugar into your system, you're out of ketosis. Now you got to start all over again to get back into ketosis. And for people who've done that, you realize that keto flu is a real thing, man. You go through the fogginess. It's like you have the flu. It's miserable. And it can take a couple of days to get back to where you need to be. So keep that in mind, that if you struggle to keep track of your food, if you don't track your food and you're not really on top of the things that you eat, and if you at some point want to enjoy life or, you know, have some ice cream, again, I believe in having those things once in a while. If you completely block out everything that you love, you're going to find that you're sacrificing. It's really difficult to stay with. Here's the other research that I'm going to give to you. They have actually found that people that go on a keto diet in general, by the end of the first year, the results from a keto diet are almost exactly the same as any other diet, whether it's low fat, you know, how about paleo, name it, okay? They all about at the same end of the same year have similar, you end up in a similar area, right? You lose about the same amount of fat, the same amount of weight. So you have to keep in mind that living on a keto diet is a lifestyle. It is a way of life. I understand the process of it, but honestly, for the majority of my clients, if I can just clean up their diet in general and get them to eat a little bit cleaner, I am not a fan of any diet that completely cuts out a nutrient. And that's just how I feel. So, you know, I want us to enjoy life. I think that if we just cut out the majority of the junk and the processed food, that it makes a huge difference on how your body reacts. I already know that in general, if I eat too many carbs, my body will actually stop burning fat. Okay, so it's very easy for me. I'm an endomorph. I easily gain fat. It's tough for me to lose it. And so I'm very careful about the amount of carbs that I put in my body, even on a daily basis, even clean carbs. But I do use them because I need that energy balance, right? My life is cardio. I'm in a dead run on a daily basis. So that is my thoughts on that. Again, I can probably do another Q&A on that because there's a lot more information on ketosis that people need to know. It is definitely not something to take lightly, just like a lot of the other choices out there. You know, recently I've had people say, how about, what if I become a vegetarian? I said, okay, why? Because there's got to be some definite choices, some value choices based on that, not just is what everybody's doing. Because even on a vegetarian diet, in order to get the right amount of proteins, you have to work really hard, and it's a lot of food, people. So if you're struggling to eat clean and get all your calories in, yeah, rock on. It's a tougher gig to do. Is it impossible? No. You just have to be dead on, and you have to know what you're doing. You have to do some research before you start that kind of a thing. So, and to Mike, he says, thanks for the info. He agrees on the opinion. Yeah, you know what? It's kind of the fad thing, and now they've got all the keto products, which are keto salts. My thought process is still out on that. I haven't done enough research, but anything that sounds too good to be true and is a quick fix, I'm not a fan. You know what? Eat clean, eat often, drink more water, eat whole foods. It's not that difficult, but a lot of people struggle with it. The food tends to be the hard part. So anyway, thanks for tuning in, everybody. I'm so glad I made it in time. I am at a hotel. I'm at an undisclosed location somewhere in Seattle. I will be on tomorrow night for the episode Melissa Fillmore Real Life. I will be posting about the topic that I'm going to talk about there. If you have any ideas that you want to talk about or hear about, definitely comment below, because I take a lot of my inspiration from you guys. Have an incredible evening. Oh, and a quick happy birthday to my son over here. He is 19 today. He's going to poke his head in. So we're going to dinner. So have an incredible evening. Thanks for tuning in, and I will hopefully see you all tomorrow, 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Have a great night.